Welcome to another round of the Teekay Couplings Production GTI Championship. This weekend we're at Donington Park and the weather is holding out for our guys. Now they're about to go out for race one and we've got Tim Hart putting it on pole for the Mark IIs. So we're going to hand it straight over to the commentator to run you through all of the action.
Yes, indeed, Lindsay. Cars forming up on the grid for race one this afternoon at Donington Park with increasingly bright conditions and a very familiar front row. Simon Hill on pole alongside James Colburn, with Simon Vercoe and Martin Walsh on the second row from John Beale and Richard Marsh, then Ryan Sayer and John Maudsley, with the top 10 completed by Paul Blackburn and newcomer Jamie Butcher in Dawn Boyd's regular number 42. Looking back to the Mark IIs and its points leader Tim Hartland, who starts on pole alongside his former double champion Chris Webb. Then it's Pete Milne and Matthew Eccles from Luke Harberman and Matthew Rhodes, with Spencer Beale and Ian Webb rounding out the Mark II entry. So 18 cars set for the first of two races this weekend, 20 minutes on the clock. Who's going to win the whole shot and the sprint down towards turn one? Simon Hill on the left, Colburn on the right. Watch for the lights in the top left of the screen. When they go out, race one will be underway. And it's a clean start from the front row. Everyone seems to have got away apart from Jamie Butcher in the background as he eventually lumbers away with a bit of a slow start. But down towards Redgate for the first time. Simon Hill looks to have the whole shot. Colburn tries to go around the outside but finds his way blocked as they turn into Redgate for the first time. And John Beale with a good start up to third place already. Here's John Maudsley we're on board with. He's being squeezed out wide by Simon Vercoe. Just in front of him there to the right is Ryan Sayer, and in front of the pair of them is Martin Walsh as they turn down through Hollywood, through the cascading crane of curves and into the old hairpin for the first time. So Hill leads, Colburn in second place, John Beale doing well to maintain third at this stage, and it's Martin Walsh fourth and Ryan Sayer in fifth position. We're on board now with Tim Hartland, one of our couple of Mark II onboard cameras, and that's Chris Webb in second place behind leader Pete Milne. So a cracking start from Pete from the second row of the grid in the Mark IIs has seen him catapult up into the lead before the end of lap one. Out through McLean's for the first time as Tim works away at the wheel. And they start to crest the rise at the top of the hill at Coppice, round the long right-hander and onto the back straight for the first time. Now it is the Grand Prix circuit, which means that instead of heading right and left on the national layout, they'll head brake a little bit earlier and then turn left and right. And Simon Hill's the pioneer to find out exactly how well the conditions are as into the chicane goes Simon Vercoe at the expense of Ryan Sayer. He's made up another place after a bit of a shaky start. The leaders head their way down towards the Melbourne Loop, this tight downhill 180-degree hairpin on the approach. And you see Richard Marsh putting John Maudsley under pressure, but Simon Vercoe with a very wide approach into the Melbourne Loop, and he's lost one, make it two, maybe even three spots if he's not careful. So not the strongest of starts for Simon Vercoe, who we've seen as high as second place at one point. And now we see Chris Webb, the onboard view, and he's just behind Pete Milne now for the lead as they head into the hairpin. Now it's second place because Tim Hartland has managed to squeeze past on the exit of Melbourne into Goddard's. It's a slightly off-camber entry, but it levels out as you head through the exit. And then as they fire back down the pit straight to start lap two, it's Simon Hill who leads. Colburn still in second place. And Martin Walsh has found a way through into third past John Beale. Now, James Colburn, I'm sure, will be getting quite sick of the sight of the back of Simon Hill's car because 7 times this season before this weekend, he has actually finished second to him. So he'll be looking to hopefully correct that and pick up a strong result. A little wavered there as there was a twitch of oversteer from Simon Hill. But so far this season, it's been out of 8 races, 7 victories have gone the way of Simon Hill, with only one going to that man right behind him, James Colburn. So Colburn's the only man who has broken the perfect record of number 51, and the likes of Simon Hill and James Colburn have both effectively come through from the Mark IIs, particularly Simon Hill, and he's adapted well to the bigger, slightly shapelier but certainly more powerful Mark Vs, and it's great to see more and more of them on the grid as the season progresses. It started out as a series back in 2015 with around about 6 or 7 cars, but more and more cars have come year on year. It joined the Mark II grid still as a series, so a non-point scoring class within the Mark II Championship in 2017, scored points for the first time last year in 2018, and that man in second place, James Colburn, who carries number 1, he was the first ever Mark V champion, and so far this season it looks as though his crown may go the way of the man right in front of him, but it's never over until it's over. Although Simon Hill does have a very commanding lead in the point standings, and I think he would need to have some rotten luck in the last few races to possibly lose out. Here's a view from John Maudsley. Now he's staring at the back of Simon Vercoe, who's trying to charge back up the order. Simon's had quite a strong first full season in production GTIs. His best results have been second places at Anglesey behind guess who, Simon Hill. And he's now just trying to find his feet here at Donington Park. Not one of his strongest circuits, evidently. But he's now embroiled in a 4-car fight between himself, John Maudsley, which is there in car number 7, in the Grand Prix Grand Tours backed machine. There goes Tim Hartland, Luke Hardman as he recovers. They're both very similarly coloured cars. This is Matthew Rhodes, as he now heads into the hairpin ahead of Ian Webb. So that battle's been resolved for the time being. And you can see Matthew Rhodes with the rookie plates on the back, so he is also a newcomer to the championship. Good to see another Mark II runner in the mix. And now Luke Hardman, as a result of the off for Tim Hartland, this has now put him into a very fortunate 3rd place at the moment. So that means now that Matthew Rhodes is into an impressive 4th and 5th position for Ian Webb. As we now look to see where our Mark V runners are. Just saw Jamie Butcher going past the back of shot, and here come our leaders. So they will come a cropper on the back of the Mark II field fairly shortly at this pace. And again, no real change in the gap, but just also keep an eye on Simon Verco in the bright blue car in the background. 4th position. He's pulled away from the cars which he passed recently. He's got ahead of John Beale and Ryan Say. He's pulled a few seconds now, and he finds himself in a little bit of no man's land. He's not really gaining too much on the cars in front, but he's not being caught by the cars behind, so he's in a bit of a race of his own now. But that should hopefully see him bank some solid points towards 4th place, and indeed his overall championship tally. And Simon Hill again takes a nice bite of curb through Old Hairpin, uses all the curb on the exit, and up through the kink of Starkeys. That's a flat-out left-hander, back up to the top of the hill at McLean's. So Simon Hill, if he can score 2 more victories this weekend, he will certainly leave Donington Park with potentially one hand on the championship, because effectively, as we mentioned at the start of the race, only one race so far this year. On one occasion has Simon Hill failed to win, and that was at the hands of James Colburn, but it was still a 2nd place for Simon, and that effectively is, ironically, his main drop score, whereas everything else has been a win. So he has to take off one of those wins, unless should anything happen in this race and the next 3 over this weekend and the finale at Brands Hatch at the end of September. Here we see Matthew Rhodes taking a slightly wider approach into the hairpin, followed by Ian Webb, the father of double champion Chris. That's why they have identical looking cars. The 2-tone white and red Mark IIs on the grid. And out through the hairpin go 1st, 2nd and 3rd. There goes Simon Verco in 4th position, and the scrap for 5th is on. I think Richard Marsh has dropped John Maudsley, and he's right onto the back of both John Beale and Ryan Sayers. Watch for that battle behind in the final top 5 place. But the last lap board goes out, and the headlights are ablaze for Simon Hill. That's a signal to the drivers in front that the leaders are on their way. They will also get the blue flags to ask them to politely move out of the way. And as they head through Redgate Corner for the last time, it looks as though Simon Hill pretty much just about has this race under his command, but it's never over until they get to the checkered flag. As we go back on board with John Maudsley on the approach to Redgate Corner at the start of his final lap, and he appears to have dropped back behind Richard Marsh, who in turn is putting the pressure on ahead for 6th position on Ryan Sayer as they head down the hill and towards the Old Hairpin at the bottom of the hill. There is John Beale in 5th position. It's one of his more improved weekends. Of course, his son Spencer races in the Mark IIs. I think he's had a bit of a difficult race this afternoon. But hopefully he can rebound in race 2. Ryan Sayer and Richard Marsh keeping them honest. But into the Fogarty S's for the final time. They are lapping the back markers. They've got past Ian Webb. They're now putting a lap on rookie Matthew Rhodes. They're not going to catch Luke Harberman, who makes his way up towards the final corner. He will get one more time around the Grand Prix circuit as one of the planes from East Midlands Airport makes its way into the skies somewhere around the world. Production GTIs head out of the Melbourne Loop and up towards Goddard's for the final time. And there's no change, I think, for 5th, 6th or 7th. And there's no change either in who leads the race, because into the final corner for the last time, incredibly, it will be for this year, for the 8th time in 9 races, Simon Hill. There is simply no stopping him up to the checkered flag, and it is victory once again for Simon Hill in the Teekay Couplings Production GTI Championship. James Colburn picks up 2nd, Martin Walsh gets 3rd. 4th position, a strong drive for Simon Verco. 5th, one of his personal best results for John Beale. Ryan Sayers 6th, Richard Marsh 7th, John Maudsley gets 8th. Let's confirm the results on screen for you then as they head down towards the pits. Hill wins, Colburn 2nd from Walsh, Verco and Beale, with Sayer, Marsh, Maudsley, Blackburn and Butcher rounding out the top 10 also in all of our Mark 5 runners who all made it to the flag. Then it's Chris Webb who wins Mark 2s from Pete Milne, Luke Hardman, Spencer Beale, Matthew Rhodes and Ian Webb. And Tim Hartland sadly was our only retirement. So that is race 1 done and dusted. And here's Lindsay with our top 3s down on the podium.
Simon, please talk me through that race. The commentators were going crazy.
Yeah, it was very, very busy. Luckily made a good start. You know, we all do. There was nothing in it. James was behind me right from the start. I couldn't get rid of him. Walshy was there. He's playing idiots in the background as well, trying to put me off. It was just a really, really good race, but you can't make a mistake. If you do, you're going to lose a place. There was a couple of times I had a tyre on the grass, but you know, James was right there keeping me honest. If the roles had been reversed, if he'd have been in front, if he didn't make a mistake, there's no way I would have got past him. But that's how equally matched these cars are. It was a good race. Hot today, really hot.
Well, you definitely kept all of the guys in the grandstand on the edge of their seats, so congratulations again from us, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thanks very much.
Chris, congratulations firstly, but please talk me through what happened.
I more by luck than anything else. I think I ended up in the lead. There was a Mark 5 that came into the mix. I think Jamie was a bit slow off the line, and he was working his way back, and I got lucky. To be honest, I got very, very lucky. I picked the right side. We were all going down the back straight. I think three abreast at one stage, and I just got lucky. So yeah, I managed to hold it. Very, very happy.
Are you going to be able to carry that luck going into the next one?
I hope so. We'll give it a go. Yeah, I'll definitely up for trying to keep it for race 2. But that'll be in a couple of hours anyway. So looking forward to that.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations again from us, and we'll let you go and enjoy this win.
Thank you very much.
Race 2 is about to get underway for the Teekay Couplings Production GTI Championship, and we've got Simon putting it back on pole position. He started pole in the first race, finished pole, back on pole. Is he going to make it another one? We'll hand it over to Scott to find out.
Thank you, Lindsay. Cars forming up on the grid for race 2 under much brighter skies than it was at the end of race 1, and as a result of race 1 we set the grid for race 2. So Simon Hill takes pole with James Coleman alongside him from Martin Walsh and Simon Vercoe, then John Beale and Ryan Sayer, followed by Richard Marsh and John Maudsley, with Paul Blackburn and new boy Jamie Butcher at the back of the Mark 5 entry. Then moving into the Mark 2s, we see race 1 winner Chris Webb on pole position. Alongside him is Pete Milne from Luke Hardman and Spencer Beale, then Matthew Rhodes and Ian Webb. And watch for Tim Hartland and Spencer Beale from the back of the grid, particularly Hartland after his trip into the McLean's gravel track, which saw him out of the race. Green flag at the back. Race 2 is a 15-minute encounter compared to the 20 minutes of race 1. And watch for Simon Hill and James Coleman again, but also Simon Vercoe and Martin Walsh could be quick starters from row 2. Let's find out as the race gets underway. And it's a strong start again from the front row with Simon Hill in the red car on the left, battling wheel to wheel already down towards Redgate corner with James Coleman into turn 1 for the first time, and Coleman tries to look around the outside into Redgate, but I think Hill might have the line and the position. A bit of jostling towards the mid-pack of the Mark 5s as they head out of Redgate through Hollywood and into the Craner curves for the first time, but I think in the Mark 2s it is indeed Pete Milne who leads the way with Chris Webb in second place. They pour their way down the hill through the Craner curves into the old hairpin for the first time, and everyone line astern as they head through underneath the bright sunshine here at Donington Park. And slightly warmer track conditions may mean that we should see higher temperatures, but also higher tyre temperatures as well. There's the perfect view for Simon Hill in the lead from pole, but he has now got James Coleman already breathing down his neck already on this first lap. Walsh keeping in touch in third place. Better start for Simon Vercoe this time as he sits in fourth. And a good start also for Paul Blackburn. He's up to 6th position on the opening lap so far, putting the pressure on John Beale as they head out through Coppice for the first time. Here's an onboard shot with our newcomer, Jamie Butcher, in the regular car that Dawn Boyd normally drives. And Jamie had a bit of a shaky start in race 1 after he struggled to get away from the line, and that saw him on the back foot for the rest of the race. But thankfully, a better launch has seen him now keep up with the tail of the Mark 5s as they head through the Fogarty S's for the first time. So down the first of these 2 straights on the Grand Prix loop, over the crest and into the Melbourne loop for the first time. Just looking to the outside of Ryan Sayer as they turn all the way through 180 degrees. And back on the power, Sayer just keeping in front with Richard Marsh also holding station ahead of the pair of them as they head up towards Goddard's. It's a slightly blind entry as they come over the crest. Once you get out onto the pit straight, you've got a much clearer view. And there is the view of Simon Hill wants, in the lead with a clear track in front of him at the end of lap 1. So Hill leads, Coleman second, then it's Martin Walsh in third position looking for another podium this weekend, followed by Simon Vercoe in fourth, then it's John Beale fifth, and Paul Blackburn in 6th position. And Pete Mills should be in the lead of the Mark IIs, which we'll check back on in a few moments as they turn out through the Craner curves. And already Simon Hill is starting to make designs on his 9th win in 10 races so far. And he really is getting closer and closer to that first Mark V championship in his career, and taking the title away from that man James Colburn, who at the moment already on this second lap is coming under threat from Martin Walsh. It's pretty much a carbon copy as it was in race 1, with the top 3 having a nice comfortable gap over 4th place backwards. Verco's in a little bit of no man's land. Then the second big group is the scrap for 5th position backwards. So watch for these guys as they come up at the top of the crest in through Coppice, and now onto the back straight towards the Fogarty S's for the conclusion of lap 2 as they race off into the distance under the sunshine. And with the sun in his eyes, Simon Hill will have to try and pick his braking point very carefully, and James Colburn may take advantage of that as they squeeze together under braking. Here's John Maudsley carrying a lot of speed into the chicane, and that might give him a bit of time gained on both John Beale and Paul Blackburn, who are scrapping ahead of him on the run towards the Melbourne Loop. And that's a battle over 6th and 7th position. So Beale takes the defensive line. Blackburn will look for the cutback on the exit on the sprint up the hill towards Goddard's. But looks as though that John Beale in the black, yellow and red machine is just about holding on. And now into Goddard's now at the end of lap 2. So no change in the order. But Simon Hill has just been kept honest, and now it's not only a 3-way fight for the lead, it's now becoming a quartet, because look behind the top 3, Simon Verco has managed to catch the back of Martin Walsh's car, which is something he couldn't do in race 1 due to the fact that he had a bit of a shaky opening lap and lost a few spots from his second row starting position. So he's now back up to 4th place and trying to make up time as best he can as they come back through the Craner curves. So this is a circuit, Donington Park, where it really is all about the rhythm that you can take through this circuit. Lots of long, sweeping, fast corners, lots of big elevation changes. It's all about keeping the power on, keeping the engine in the power band as best as possible. And of course these cars have an option of either with their gearboxes, either having a traditional H-pattern gearbox or having the double clutch DSG gearbox that you can have in the car. DSG is said to be a little bit faster as they head into Coppice once again on lap 3. Again, just letting the car just drift out on the apex all the way through the exit, and the run off of Coppice Corner is crucial, because the more speed you can carry through corner apex gives you much more speed and push down the back straight towards the Fogarty S's. Looking at the gaps, Simon Hill is just coming under a bit more pressure from Colburn, and Colburn in turn is starting to pull away a little bit from Martin Walsh. Here is Jamie Butcher at the back of the Mark V field. He is keeping the back of the Mark Vs in sight, but just again learning on the fly in his first weekend in the Production GTI Championship, as our race leaders come back through the old hairpin again. A little wide over the curb once more for Simon Hill, so he's definitely still pushing. Kicks up the dust as he puts 2 wheels on the inside of Starkey's curve through Schwantz and into McLean's. You can see visibly the number 1 of James Colburn is really starting to apply the pressure here. He had enough of hanging around. He looks to the inside line. Simon Hill again throws the block up towards Coppice, with Martin Walsh watching on, looking for an opportunity. Simon Verco is also in a prime seat too, if any of these 3 come together. And as Walsh starts to close in on the top 2, they head down towards the S's now for what could be the second to last time. And up towards the Fogarty S's they'll go again, under brakes. Still Hill from Colburn from Walsh, but they've all closed up as they turn left and then right through the S's. Now onto the Melbourne Loop, what I think is the second to last time. They haven't been given the last lap board yet, but there's only a couple of minutes left in this race, and Martin Walsh has a look up the inside for second place on Colburn, but again gets it anchored up quickly enough, looks for the undercut on the exit, but again doesn't have the grunt off the corner and the correct line to put himself level before they get towards Goddard's. So all this fighting, not only is it going to bring Simon Verco into play, it will also start to give the advantage to Simon Hill as they head out of the hairpin onto the pit straight. And I think this may well be the last lap this time by. It is. There it is. Confirmation in the top left of the screen. Last lap here at Donington Park in the Teekay Couplings Production GTIs. And quite frankly, any of these 4 cars could end up as a race winner, never mind on the podium. So through Redgate, all 4 of them together. Simon Hill in the Rev 51, the black and pink car number 1 of James Colburn, the blue and silver car, which is Martin Walsh in 3rd place, and the all blue car of Simon Verco is in 4th position. Down the Craner curves, up towards the old hairpin for the final time. And Simon Hill has got just about enough pace left in that car and in the tyres but James Colburn will keep on pushing him, keep on pressing, keep on attacking all the way to the checkered flag. Now, we haven't even looked at our Mark IIs this race, but for the record, there is Chris Webb on course potentially for a double win, with Tim Hartland certainly rebounding after his gravel trap excursion in race 1 in second place, Pete Milne back in third. These are the three main men in the Mark II Championship, as Chris Webb turns in through Redgate Corner holding on. He said he was pretty lucky in race 1, but I think this pace so far from lights to flag in race 2 certainly is more than luck by the looks of it. He's certainly showing the pace he showed before when he won the championship 2 times over. This year may not be his third title, but he's certainly showing why he's still a race winner and a very capable driver at the wheel of a Mark II. As the leaders for the Mark Vs come back into the hairpin for the last time, and Colburn is right there looking for the undercut. He has to park the car on the apex as Simon Hill throws the block on the run up the hill towards Goddard's. Martin Walsh may make one last desperate dive on the outside line towards Goddard's into the hairpin for the final time, but it may not work. And so now for his 9th win in 10th races, incredibly, he has one hand on the title. Simon Hill completes his 4th double of the season by running race 2 in the production GTIs here at Donington Park. James Colburn holds on to 2nd, Martin Walsh gets 3rd, Simon Verco in 4th position. John Beale a very distant 5th, and a sprint to the line for 6th position, as Richard Marsh may win the drag race to the line between himself and John Maudsley. I think he may have just done it. And back in the Mark IIs, it will be Chris Webb, who also completes the double. 2 from 2 here at Donington Park. Flashes the headlights with celebration. Tim Hartland 2nd and Pete Milne in 3rd. So here's confirmation of the race 2 result on your screen. Hill wins, Colburn 2nd, Walsh 3rd and Verco 4th. The top 4 separated by just over 1.5 seconds. That's how close it was. Beale, Marsh, Maudsley, Butcher and Tim Webb, who's the winner in the Mark IIs, from Tim Hartland and Pete Milne, with Matthew Rhodes, Spencer Beale and Ian Webb. Another brilliant race, and here's Lindsay once again with our winners from both Mark Vs and Mark IIs.
Chris, talk us through that race. There was a lot of here and there.
There was, definitely. Pete got a very good start and came past me at the beginning. I think I was slightly better at one of the chicanes than him, and I think I got him down back on the Melbourne Loop. But after that, it was a case of just trying to pull a lead. I could see Tim coming back at the end, and I think if it had been a few minutes longer, I think he would have been with me. So I was lucky that it was a short race.
Well, congratulations on winning that round again. We'll let you go and enjoy this.
Thank you very much.
Simon, 2 out of 2 yet again, but I'm hearing you say it was a little bit stressful this time.
Yeah, it was difficult on this occasion, I'll be honest with you. I think a couple more laps and I'd have run out of tyres, and James was just ready there to pounce. So you just have to just keep hitting every apex, don't make any mistakes. But it was a lot of fun. I mean, it was mayhem of 15 minutes of utter mayhem, but really good fun, really enjoyed it.
Glad to see you've still come in with a smile on your face though.
Yeah, always. As long as the car's still on 4 wheels and in the same shape it arrives, it's not on its roof or on fire, I'm a happy boy. So yeah, but to win as well, it's great. So I'm going to get the calculator out, do the maths, and hopefully we may have just clinched the title, so we'll soon see.
Well, we can't wait for the next round. Well done, and we'll let you go and enjoy this win.
Thanks very much.